Good day out there in internet land. How are you doing today? Today, in this program, we're going to be talking about nothing less than the world's greatest jazz recording. The one record that stands out about amongst all the others. I was asked a while back, a long time ago, by someone, but he said, what is jazz anyway? What is jazz really? And I was tempted to give this person an intellectual answer, and explain to him how jazz was created by the meeting of African culture with European culture. And this sort of meeting happened sort of in New Orleans around the beginning of the 20th century. And it was because of the influence of the European compositions, the European instruments, and the African rhythms, the beats and all that. That could have get. And then I said, what the heck am I doing? What am I doing? I'm not going to give an intellectual answer to a question about music. I'm going to give a musical answer to this question. What is jazz? What is the essence of jazz music? And I know that if we ask jazz fans all over the world, which album best defines what jazz is all about? People would come up with lists, well, I've got a list of 10 albums, these 10 albums, or these 20 albums, or these 50 albums, or whatever. But what if we had to narrow it down to just one album, just one that will tell people this is the spirit of jazz, this is the soul of jazz, this is jazz in a condensed form, everything that jazz is emotionally, the power of jazz, everything that jazz is all about in one album. Which album would that be? And people usually start scratching their heads when you ask a question like that. Which album would you recommend? Well, I thought about it. I've thought about it for a long time. And I came up with one album. And this album is by a very, very well-known jazz artist. As a matter of fact, this jazz artist, even people that don't know anything about jazz have heard his name and know that he is something big in the music world, or was something big in the music world in the past. And everybody knows this name. And I'm talking about Miles Davis. Now, no, it's not Kind of Blue. Don't anybody go off your rocker. It's not Kind of Blue. It's not that one. Although Kind of Blue, of course, is a wonderful album, and everybody goes berserk over Kind of Blue because it's the best-selling jazz album of all time. Yeah. All that is true, but Miles Davis did something better than Kind of Blue, in my estimate. And which album is this? This album that resumes the essence of jazz? Well, it's this one right here. It's the soundtrack to a French movie that was filmed in 1957, released in 1958 by the great French producer Louis Malle. It's starring Jeanne Moreau and Maurice René. And the soundtrack is by Miles Davis and his quintet of the time. In 1957, Miles Davis was on tour at the time in France and the area. And he was set to play several dates in French jazz clubs. Miles, when he came to France, was in a relaxed mood because he didn't have to face the racism that was going on in the United States toward black Americans. In 1957 was one of the worst times to be black and to be living in America back in those days. It was not easy times, but Miles, when he came to France, there was not any of that racism, so he could really relax. He got a completely different, into a different mood altogether, in a different, much more relaxed mood. And he just loved the atmosphere in France, just loved the society there and the culture and all that. And so Louis Malle met with him and proposed to him this project of making the music for his movie, his great movie, Ascenceur pour l'échafaud. Lift to the Scaffold is the UK title, and I believe the American title was Frantic for this movie, 1957 movie, and I highly recommend it, by the way. It is an excellent film noir, an excellent suspense, thriller, mystery, you name it, all wrapped into one, and romance, all wrapped into one. It's the story, briefly, just going to tell you just an outline of the story. The story of a woman, Jeanne Moreau right here, who is in love with an employee of her husband. Her husband is the head of a great big French society working in a big high-rise downtown Paris, and his employee works a couple of floors down. They worked out a ploy to get rid of the husband. He's going to kill his boss. He's going to enter through a window and escape through the same window, make it look like a suicide anyway. And on his way out of the building at closing time on Friday evening, something is going to go wrong. He's going to be stuck and remain stuck for the whole weekend in the elevator. Whence the title, Elevator to the Gallows. And in the meantime, well, he left his car running in the front of the building, and all kinds of things is going to happen. And Mrs. Moreau, who's waiting for him at a meeting spot at a small club in downtown Paris, is going to start to wonder, what the hell's he doing? How come he's not coming to meet me? What, did he chicken out? Did he decide to not go through with it? As he left the city, is he running? What's going on? Anyway, and it's during this scene that the famous music of Miles Davis starts to play at the beginning of the movie, when we see her walking through the streets of Paris aimlessly, thinking that something went wrong, but she doesn't know what, and she's just in a despair. And this haunting, fantastic, beautiful music comes in the background, played by Miles Davis, accompanied by the great jazz saxophonist Barney Willen. Pierre Michelot is on bass, René Urtreger is on piano, and the great Kenny Clark is on drums. Kenny Clark was already living in Paris at the time, so it was easy for Miles to recruit Kenny to accompany him on his tour. And these are the 5 musicians that had been touring France with Miles at the time. And so they're the ones that went in to Le Studio Parisien on December 4th and 5th, 1957. These 5 men walked in the studio. It was late during the night. Jeanne Moreau was waiting for them, was serving drinks at a quickly invented bar. And she was just very, very relaxed. Everyone was relaxed. And what they had to do, this is the process they had to go through in order to make this music. Louis Malle had brought the film over. Miles Davis had already seen the whole movie, had been impressed by the actor Lino Ventura, who plays the detective in the movie. And he had been told the plot. He had seen the movie in a private showing. And he had taken a couple of notes, written a few things down, very, very little. But basically, Louis Malle was projecting scenes of this movie onto a screen in the recording studio, and he told Miles, just play what you feel while you're looking at these scenes. And you know what's going on because I've told you about the plot. Play as you feel it. So what these musicians had to do, Miles Davis and the others, they had to look at these images and concentrate and create on the spot from what they were feeling, what they were getting from these images. And this is the heart of jazz. Jazz musicians' strength, this enormous strength of this music, is the ability to be able to create music on the spot with nothing written down, with hardly anything in a matter of notes or musical notes or anything. There's nothing down, there's no groundwork. You're with some other musicians and you create on the spot, and this is what Miles did. He created on the spot these recordings. There are 26 tracks on the full-length issue on the CD on Fontana Records. 26 takes, the alternate takes, everything is there that was recorded. There's over 74 minutes of music here on the CD, and it is pure creative genius. It is absolutely breathtaking music. It is haunting. It is tragic music because the movie is also a bit of a tragedy. It's going to finish in a very, very, tragic way. I'm not going to ruin the ending for you. I recommend you get this movie. The soundtrack, of course, is excellent, since I'm suggesting this as the greatest jazz record ever recorded. Nothing less. So go see the movie. The movie is fantastic. I just watched it recently. It has lost none of its power. It's a fantastically well-made movie, excellent movie, and the music is excellent. Now, this record can be listened to on YouTube. So if you want to just have a pre-listen, just type down on YouTube in your search bar, Miles Davis, Ascenceur pour l'échafaud, lift to the scaffold, and you will find an extract or some extracts of the music on this record and give you an idea of what exactly the music sounds like. And I will tell you something, if you don't like this, well, something's wrong with your ears. It's just breathtaking. It's really, if you really concentrate and listen to this stuff, it's mind-boggling. Miles Davis and his group really go and reach deep down in the depth of their souls to play their hearts out on this great, great creative endeavor of theirs in 1957. Those 2 nights in that studio called Le Poste Parisien. What a wonderful night that must have been. It gave us this wonderful music. So I highly, highly recommend that you go out and purchase this album, Miles Davis, Ascenceur pour l'échafaud. In my opinion, it sums up the essence of what jazz music is all about. And I would say if you're wondering what it's all about, put this on, play it, and really listen, and you're going to understand what jazz is all about. You know, Willie Dixon, the great blues man, Willie Dixon, he's got a song, a famous song called I Think I Got the Blues. And the first line in that song is, he talks about jazz. He says, I don't know what jazz is, but I'm willing to learn. Well, you don't know what jazz is and you're willing to learn, this is a good place to start this fantastic, phenomenal recording of 1957, Ascenceur pour l'échafaud. Now, a little note on the technical side of this recording. It was a recording done in Paris in 1957 at Le Poste Parisien recording studio. The Europeans, I'll tell you something, in my opinion, I'm talking from Canada, I'm in North America, of course, but most of the European recordings that I have that were made on records like this one, Fontana Records, which is a European label, they were done in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the sound takes are rarely disappointing. The sound takes are usually absolutely well done. They are fantastically well recorded. Obviously, these recording engineers took the time to select the proper microphones for each instrument. They took the time to set up their musicians in a proper recording studio that was properly well built for the occasion, well organized. And the sound capture was just really, 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 really good. I mean, it doesn't get any better than this. This is 1957, and it's a stereo recording, and it's stereo had just made its appearance by the end of 1957. But it's just a wonderful sound take. Technically, the trumpet of Miles is crystal clear. All the musicians are really, really well recorded. You will not regret listening to this on any hi-fi system. I don't care how hi-fi your system is, and I don't care that this was recorded in 1957 on analog tape and all this. The CD edition on Fontana Records that I'm holding right here in my hand, this one is from 1988. It has all 26 tracks. If you buy this, you will not be disappointed. It's a fantastically good sounding CD, very well transferred, very well mastered. The recording was very well done from the start. So anyway, this is my presentation. This is my take on this great album, Miles Davis, Ascenceur pour l'échafaud. And after this whole process was over and that Miles had finished recording on the 5th of December, Louis Malle asked him, so how did you like your experience and will you be willing to renew it? And Miles said, oh no, it's not an experience I would be willing to renew because it demanded too much concentration, an enormous amount of concentration from all the musicians, including Miles. And he said he would not renew the experience, although he enjoyed doing it. He was very much enthralled by the project, but it was very, very demanding. So anyway, this is my take on the greatest recording to sum up jazz in its essence. So Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you like these reviews of these albums that I'm making. I am the Jazz and Blues audiophile nut, and I will be back with another program presenting another album that you should buy and that you should go listen to and purchase and encourage the jazz scene out there, whatever's out in your area in jazz. So until next time, don't forget to jazz on. Bye-bye for now.